Hi, David. How are you? Welcome.
Good morning, good evening.
And good morning to you right now. So welcome. And today we will be talking about green diamonds. It's my honor to have David with us. He is the founder of Optimum Diamonds, a New York-based company that specializes in natural fancy color diamonds. And they have a collection of extraordinary, ultra rare green diamonds. And David has been very kind to help me curate my series on green diamonds, which I had done a couple of months back. And today it's our absolute privilege to have David share his expertise and his knowledge about green diamonds. So, David, we welcome you once again.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So let's begin by knowing how did you know that the world of natural fancy color diamond was your true calling?
I just enjoy them so much. I think that natural fancy color diamonds are such an amazing commodity, such an amazing investment, such an amazing combination of art and science. I was so fascinated by them from day one. I love the cutting process. I love the process of collecting and everything about them. I find the gemology and the microscopy so fascinating, and I was
Okay.
entranced by them from really the first time that I encountered them.
That's really interesting to know. When we hear the word green, the first thing that comes to our mind is emerald. So, can you talk to us how are green diamond different from emerald?
Well, and as we know, emeralds are a completely different gemstone. It's a much softer, and it's not carbon based like a diamond.
Right.
A diamond
Mm-hmm.
is a green diamond is a diamond. Beautiful sheets of carbon that are compressed at ultra high temperatures and pressures into this amazing crystal. And an emerald is a completely separate gemstone, much softer, obviously with
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful green color, depending on where they come from, but a separate thing. A green diamond is a miracle of nature.
Right.
First and foremost, a diamond has to be created deep inside the earth and created just as a white diamond or yellow or brown or whatever color it is. At some point during its genesis, during its
Mm-hmm.
creation, it encounters some sort of radioactive material. It could be a
Okay.
salt, it could be a water, but uranium or thorium or radium, something highly radioactive. And the radiation from this substance is actually able to, in many cases, penetrate or at least bombard the surface with many different types of radioactive particles. You have X rays, gamma rays, alpha particles, electrons, all the different types of radioactivity that come off of these things are bombarding the diamond. And some of them, the most powerful ones, known as gamma
Mm-hmm.
rays, are able
Mm-hmm.
to penetrate, in some cases, all the way through the diamonds. Those gamma
Right.
rays are able to knock individual or groups of carbon atoms out of the beautiful sheets, the crystal lattice, and they create holes, which are known as vacancies. These
Wow.
vacancies act as light traps.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to absorb more of the red and blue spectra of the light, and they allow for the transmission of green. And then the combination of different elements
Right.
inside the diamond, along
Mm-hmm.
with these light traps,
Mm-hmm.
create these incredible combinations of color that we see sometimes, from yellow
Wow.
greens all the way
Right.
up to greens and straight
Mm-hmm.
through to green blues. So this is
Wow.
how it works. The light traps
Mm-hmm.
also, depending on how many you have, it increases the saturation. So the more
Right.
light traps that you have,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
stronger the color is. And then
Right.
it's up to the demonter and the cutter
Right.
to
Mm-hmm.
amplify. It's
Mm-hmm.
very much about identifying. When you have a rough green diamond, it's identifying where the color is within the crystal lattice and
Mm-hmm.
amplifying that color. Most importantly,
Wow.
also not removing that color, because in many cases, the color is very localized. And so identifying where the color is within the crystal and focusing that color, that's the job of an extraordinarily skilled cutter. And hopefully, you know, we don't screw them up.
A lot of detailing and a lot of precision goes behind manufacturing these rare green color diamonds.
Yes, absolutely. A very, very scary process in many cases, cutting these things. Green diamonds are also temperature dependent. When you cut them, if you cut it like a regular white diamond or a yellow diamond, the temperature on the wheel, the cutting wheel, can get very high, into 800, 1,000 degrees Celsius. And at those temperatures, the vacancies in the green diamonds can close back up, and you can lose the color which Mother Nature has generated in the blink of an eye. So it's extremely important to maintain a cooler temperature, and it's extremely important at the same time to understand where the color is coming from, and to maintain all of these things at the same time requires really a masterful cutter.
And tell us that where can one find these rare diamonds?
They occur occasionally in all mines, because I believe we find radioactive material throughout the world. It happens in mines, it happens throughout the earth. But we do find historically a concentration of them coming originally from India, from Golconda, and as well as certain locations in South America. Brazil in particular, Venezuela, Guyana. Occasionally they come from Indonesia, from Borneo, and the occasional one from Africa. But there are, you know, historical records of beautiful, beautiful green stones coming from India very early on.
India has every world's
Yes,
best
it does.
diamonds. World's best diamonds are from India and from the Golconda mines. So, yay. Now, can we see some of your ultra rare green diamonds before we move on to the color grading system?
It would be my pleasure. First and foremost, we had the pleasure of being on the cover of the GIA magazine, Gems and Gemology. Thank you so much. Which featured some of our finest diamonds. Up on the top, we have the 417 vivid yellowish green pear shape, which is the largest vivid yellowish green pear shaped it's the largest vivid yellowish green in the world. It's known as the mantis, like the praying mantis diamond. Below it, let me see if I can get my finger here. We have the 388 fancy vivid green, known as the Shangri-La. The Shangri-La is amongst the finest vivid green diamonds that have ever come out of Mother Nature. It is extraordinarily saturated and bright and beautiful. Let me see if I can find a fine picture here for you. Here is the 388 vivid green. It has slight hints of blue color, but it is still well within the range of vivid green, and just this magnificent brilliance and saturation, and it's really something extraordinary. Here we have a 2-carat vivid bluish green. So when you compare this to the 388 vivid green, you see it has additional hints of blue color, which come from the radiation, exposure to radiation, and a combination of the elements that are within the stone. So the stone may have some nitrogen or hydrogen mixed in the carbon lattice, that when they work with the vacancies, they combine to create these incredible, incredible colors. Here you have also, and this is a really extraordinary 58-point shield fancy vivid green that we know came from Brazil. Really an extraordinary color, super saturated, a touch more towards the yellowish side than the other ones, but still also well within the straight green color. Here,
I love these earrings, yes.
Oh, thank you so much. These were created for one of the great collectors on planet Earth, Mr. Nicholas Sparks, the great author of The Notebook and many, many other amazing books. he has decided to put together one of the great collections of fancy colored diamond earrings. These are known as the Caribbean diamond earrings. They are
Mm-hmm.
4 carats each,
Okay,
fancy,
lovely.
vivid blue green. They are the largest pair of any type of vivid color green, blue greens in this case. Vivid blue green in the world was 5.5 carats. It's called the Ocean Dream. It was
Mm-hmm.
sold at auction a few years ago. And this is the second and third largest in the world. And they're a
Wonderful.
very wonderful pair. So superb earrings by a superb collector. Here we have another pair from the collection. These are known as the Nautilus earrings.
Mm-hmm.
These are fancy, vivid green blue. In
Mm-hmm.
many cases, we know that blue comes from boron in
Right.
diamonds, but in this
Mm-hmm.
case, it only comes from radiation. This is a radiation-based blue color, extraordinary, bright, but with no boron inside in the crystal lattice.
That's so rare,
It's so
isn't
rare.
it?
It really is. Here we have more, just to show you more example of the blue color. This
Beautiful.
is a 2 carat vivid green blue. So the dominant color is a blue. The
Mm-hmm.
secondary color is a green. And you see
Right.
this extraordinary saturation of color. But the color, again, does not come from boron. It comes from interaction
Radiation.
with radiation, correct. And here, I'll give you one more example. Now, this is something different. This is known as the firefly. The firefly is more in the chartreuse family. It's graded as fancy, vivid yellow-green,
Right.
and it is the finest example that I have ever encountered, and many people have said it in the world. This does not come from radiation. This comes from
Okay.
a combination of hydrogen and other elements within the stone. The crystal was always this color. It has never encountered any radiation, and it is just an extraordinary example of a different type of green color. The pleasure of GIA actually giving us a nice little shout out. Trying to find it today. Oh, on GIA Grams, GIA posted a bunch of stuff from Optimum Diamonds today. So
Oh, that's so
it was a
lovely.
lovely,
Congratulations.
thank you, a lovely piece of karma. I think it might have had something to do with you.
You showed us all these different colors in green diamonds. Talk to us about the color grading of green diamonds.
It's the same as any other color. They go
Mm-hmm.
from basically white diamonds, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
to faint and into the lights, very lights first, then lights,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
fancy lights,
Mm-hmm.
fancy, intense, vivid, and deep. It's the same for all colors, but what's so interesting about greens is the range of spectrums they come from. You can have a stone that has a greenish yellow color, you can have a
Right.
yellow green, you can have a straight green, you can have a green blue, a blue green. There's so many combinations from
Right.
yellow to blue. There are, almost an infinite possibility of combinations of color for green. I personally like to go after the super saturated, the vivids and the deeps. I've always been fascinated and amazed by these types of colors, and those are my favorites. And it's what I recommend to my investors and collectors, is to go
Right.
after these ultra rare colors. But there are so many beautiful
Mm-hmm.
things. They exist in the fancy range. They can be these magnificent pastel flavors and colors. They don't have to be so saturated. They can still be really, really magnificent.
Mm-hmm. Since you mentioned that you always advise your investors and collectors to go for the vivid green diamonds. So can you talk to us about some tips which an investor must keep in mind while making a purchase on green diamonds?
Sure. First and foremost,
Mm-hmm.
as an investor or a collector, I really recommend buying diamonds and not certificates. Buy
Right.
something that appeals to your eye. Buy
Mm-hmm.
something that is beautiful. Buy something that you will be proud to own, that you understand, that makes sense monetarily. something artistically that makes sense. Buy something that's beautiful, that's cut beautifully. Just because something has a nice certificate from one of the grading
Right.
labs doesn't mean that it's a fantastic stone. You can see sometimes two stones that are both graded as
Right.
fancy, intense green. One of them
Mm-hmm.
can be hazy and milky. Another one can be an extraordinary crisp
Mm-hmm.
crystal with very, very strong color, and they can have the same certificate. Now,
Right.
within that, there's also, obviously, as an investor, there's the factor of money. It must make sense monetarily. You must understand the market, and you must understand why this diamond costs so much. I am all about quality. I believe that
Mm-hmm.
it's better to pay a little bit more when I buy
Mm-hmm.
and to buy
Mm-hmm.
something fabulous, something that you really, really love, instead of just buying something that because it has a particular certificate. So that's
Mm-hmm.
my 2 cents.
Eventually, one should buy what resonates with you and what makes you feel happy from within. Sometimes,
I
as you
agree.
very rightly mentioned, that certificates could be just a piece of paper mentioning a specific color or clarity. But if you don't feel happy wearing it, holding it, then it's absolutely without any meaning.
I agree, Renu, 100%. I think it's really the truth.
Yeah. Next, I would like to know that why are these diamonds so expensive?
It's a good question. It is about rarity. When we factor in all of these things,
Mm-hmm.
rarity is what drives the price. A lot of the time, it's determined by auctions in the first
Mm-hmm.
place. The prices that diamonds achieve at auction really help to drive the market. But within a certain range, and in particular within the range of vivid or deep, which are the ultimate levels
Ultimate.
of
Mm-hmm.
color, there's
Mm-hmm.
vivid, and then there's super vivid, and then there's even beyond. So
Yeah.
sometimes just seeing a diamond that's graded as a vivid green in 1 carat
Mm-hmm.
can be 500,000, a million, 2 million, depending on how superb the color is, how clean, how fine the crystal is. There's so many different factors in determining the prices. Ultimately, it comes to rarity. When you get
Okay.
into these vivids and deeps, let's say above 2 carats in green,
Mm-hmm.
green, blue, blue, green, there are only a few dozen of these in the world. The numbers are really small. The largest vivid green in the world, for example, is the 5 carat Aurora green, which was purchased by Chow Tai Fook in, I believe it was 2017, for approximately $17 million. Before that, the aforementioned 388 Vivid Green in our collection was the largest vivid green diamond in the world for almost a decade. So it shows, and I believe that above 3 carats in vivid
Mm-hmm.
green, maybe there are 10 stones in the world, and probably less. The largest vivid bluish green is a 4 carater. The largest vivid blue green, the Ocean Dream, is a 5 carater. These are very, very rare. So to find even a carat stone
Right.
in one of these colors, there are maybe only a few hundred of them. So it is ultimately rarity, and it is ultimately the market, supply and demand, which drives these things.
Mm-hmm.
If there's only
Mm-hmm.
one or two large vivid greens available in the world, that's what's going to determine the price.
How do you see and anticipate the demand and the market for green diamonds?
It's
Are
a
they
really
going to
good
be?
question.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in general, the fancy colored diamond market is doing extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that people understand more and more every day, are understanding fancy colored diamonds as an extraordinary investment, as a different store of wealth. And in a
Mm-hmm.
world that has a few problems here and there, depending on the countries we live in, the economies that we live in, the socioeconomic states, fancy colored diamonds and diamonds in general provide a very stable store
Right.
of wealth. And so
Mm-hmm.
now we're seeing fancy colored diamonds have very much come into fashion, and people have the ability to store large amounts of wealth in something very beautiful that they get to
Right.
wear and they
Mm-hmm.
enjoy and they get
Mm-hmm.
to cherish and pass on perhaps to the next generation. But at the same time, in many cases, they need these things. It is it is the ability to have enormous amounts of money concentrated in a very, very small space. And that gives
Absolutely.
people a lot of freedoms. They really need it in many cases. So they are a wonderful investment, but in many cases also they are a necessity. And it's a fascinating, fascinating investment.
It's a completely different, rare world to even witness such unique gemstones.
It is. It is. This is what I chase after. This is what I love so much is the chase. I think that trying
Hmm.
to find the rough diamonds as well as trying to find cut diamonds in these extraordinary colors is what drives me. I love it. I really, really love the
Lovely.
search, the hunt. And I
Right.
find also I enjoy so much the process of cutting. It is the most beautiful combination of art and mathematics and science. Such a huge 3, 4, 5 dimensional problem to deal with optimization of yield, but at the same time, optimization of color and size and all of these different factors to create this extraordinary piece of art at the end. So it's really science and art and
Hmm.
mathematics put together, along with using some beautiful technologies. Some of the systems like the Serene Galaxy or helium, along with also um, spectrophotometry. We use spectrophotometers, which measure the inherent body color, location
Okay.
of color, and strength of
Wow.
color. And so we're able to measure with these very, very sensitive devices the actual color in different parts of the diamond. It's part of how we determine. The most important factor in cutting these diamonds is color. We are all about color. We could make, in some cases, a larger stone, or we could make a cleaner stone. But the most important thing when buying a fancy colored diamond and cutting a
It's the
fancy
color.
colored diamond is the color. That is
Beautiful.
ultimately what drives it.
Wow, that's so much of information. A very interesting question came to my mind since you mentioned that you have all the latest technology which you're using currently. So I'm just wondering, that back then, when there was no Serene and there was no latest technology, how did people manufacture such rare diamonds? How did they study the science and the mathematics and the angles?
It's a great question, Renu. It really is. I had the pleasure of dealing with some of the real scions of the industry. I'm very much
Hmm.
about history and about going to gentlemen like Leo Schachter, gentlemen like Louis Glick,
Nice.
people who have forgotten more about diamonds than I'll ever know in my life. Real scions of the industry, and I asked them
Hmm.
the same type of thing. And
Hmm.
it was all about your eye. It was all about
Wow.
feel. It was all about experience.
Wow.
And they did it for hundreds and hundreds of years by eye. And I
Right,
would say
exactly. Hmm.
that green diamonds of all are the hardest to cut because for a very
Right.
long time, I'm sure that they didn't understand about the vacancies and where the color came from
Exactly.
and temperature and all of these things. And so I
Hmm.
think it was very much about experience. I think to this day, it's still very much about experience. That is the job of a cutter. I personally have a gentleman named Zivan Cohen, who, in my opinion, is the finest cutter of green diamonds in the world. I think he's handled more of the ultra rare green diamonds than anyone else in the world. It is about his experience. It is about
Lovely.
understanding the material. It is about a feel for
Feel.
the stones. Yes,
Right.
and it is really that combination of feel with all the other things, the art, the science, the technologies that we describe. Ultimately, you can have all the technology in the world. You don't really have that feel and
Feel.
understanding of the material, the grain of the diamond, as well as an understanding of the location of color within the material. You can't achieve the maximum result. So it is this feel, I think, that the scions of our industry, the
Right.
William Goldbergs, and people like that, the real pillars of our industry were so good at before they had these technologies
Exactly.
in creating. Yes,
It's also a lot about your gut feeling. You hold it in
100%.
your hand and what your heart tells you, just to go by it.
It's so funny that you say that. I say it all the time. It's the same thing. You have to feel it. You have to feel it. Just like everything else in life, you really
Everything
have
else
to
in
feel
life.
it. You have to get a good feel for something.
Hmm. Wow, that's so much great information.
Thank you.
And can these diamonds also be treated?
Yes, yes, they can. The same process that the earth, that Mother Nature does when a diamond encounters some sort of radioactive material can be mimicked by using different types of man-made radiation, a
Right.
cyclotron, an electron beam, any of these things. Um, if a white diamond is put under a man-made electron beam, it can turn into a green-blue or a blue-green
Okay.
color.
Hmm.
Fortunately, it's pretty easily detectable.
Okay,
When
that's good.
it's a very man-made treated source, we understand very, very well how to do these. There are a few sources, and there are some things that the GIA is not sure about. We only use the GIA when it comes to green diamonds.
Okay.
GIA is the source of information and technology. They have the ultimate in technologies, and they are really, really skilled at understanding where the color comes from, understanding the nature and the origin of these diamonds. In some cases, they're not sure. And as difficult as it is sometimes to hear, it's good to hear that they give a grade of undetermined on some of these origins, because it's always better safe than sorry, of course. But
Right.
in most cases, because they've encountered and studied 50,000, 100,000, God knows how many colored diamonds over the years, they have a
Right.
very, very good understanding of these things, and it's relatively easy to detect these days what is treated anyway. Um,
Right.
Tough question.
So here we have a compliment for you saying that David, you are a legend.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And
Right.
you are a legend as well. I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate your series of talks. I really think that you have done a masterful job
Thank you,
of
David.
curating these talks and these things. And you've done a wonderful thing for the diamond industry, that you really attach a face and a name and a real class to it, and you do it in such a wonderful way. I really appreciate what you
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you so much, David. You use the word optimize. So is that from where the brand name comes from? Optimum
Yes.
Diamonds New York is come from the word optimize, is it?
Yes, ma'am. We
Nice.
are all about optimization of color, of
Nice.
yield, and ultimately we hope optimization of yield for our investors and for our clients as well. We love what we do, love this business, love fancy colored diamonds in general, and we are really very much about optimization.
Does color affect the hardness of the diamond?
No, it does not. It's a very good question. Diamond is a diamond, and the inclusion
Right.
of boron or nitrogen, or in this case, the vacancies created by radiation, are minute amounts of other things. So you're talking about in a blue diamond, for example, with the inclusion of boron, 99.9% of the stone is still pure carbon. So it still rates a 10 on the Mohs scale, and it's the exact same hardness.
Beautiful. And there was another compliment for you saying, David, you are a leader in your field. Let me see.
Thank
There's
you.
another.
A question here: does the heat from the wheel impact, or has
Oh, that's
the chance
interesting.
of changing the color in the process of manufacturing? Very good question. Thank you. It does. The heat from the wheel is exactly what changes the color. The heat from the wheel can only do damage to the color. It is extremely, extremely difficult to properly cut a green diamond. One must be extremely careful of heat and heat for extended periods of time when cutting a green diamond. You must be very, very careful, work very slowly, and again, identifying within the crystal where the green color is concentrated. The color is not homogeneous. The color is located in very, very concentrated small areas, and it's maintaining those small areas within the crystal that allows for the reflection of the color within the stone. That's what the job of this masterful cutter when it comes to creating these beautiful pieces of art.
And how do you best track the value of these diamonds?
It's also a very good question. Auctions are an excellent way of seeing the historical track of
Mm-hmm.
some of these things. I think that also just doing research, calling different dealers, speaking to brokers, jewelers, and just understanding an overall picture of the market is very, very important. Most importantly, going to see them, to feel them,
Right.
to
Mm-hmm.
see the difference between two diamonds that can have, again, we go to a fancy intense green, 1 carat. One can be very light and pastel-y. Another one can feel much more like a pine tree color or something like that. They can have the same certificate, but they can be
Quite different.
infinitely different diamonds. So it's understanding the material, it's understanding the colors, it's understanding the crispness of the diamond. There's so many different factors in tracking these things. It's really about just educating yourself.
How come you, David, unlike other dealers, never sacrifice weight of the diamond? Is your primary goal to optimize beauty and color of the diamond?
Oh, we do sacrifice weight for sure. We
Right.
find that in green diamonds, sometimes it is better to leave more weight on the stone
Okay.
because the color has not penetrated as far into a stone. But it is, at the end of the day, it's again about that feel. It's about, and it's about optimization. It's about
Right.
maximizing the color,
Right.
maximizing the weight, maximizing all of these things to get you the most valuable and the most
Mm-hmm.
beautiful stone. Ultimately, we can't leave so much weight on a stone because it will be ugly. You can make the biggest ugly diamond and no one will want it. Ultimately,
Right.
someone has to wear and enjoy and purchase these
Feel.
diamonds. So it's very, very important to create something beautiful at the same time and not
Right.
just to create
Absolutely.
something weight.
With that, I'm looking forward to making a trip to New York, hopefully soon. Feel your beautiful green diamonds in my hand and try them on.
It would be my pleasure, and we invite your viewers as well to come and see and to have a look and really enjoy the world of green diamonds.
I think there's a last question. Can a green rough, can a green rough where the color is in the skin,
These are great
be
questions,
cut?
by the way. These are really great questions that are coming in. It is a very, very difficult thing. When a diamond is, let's say, white or yellow on the inside, but there is green color on the skin, it's actually a relatively normal thing that happens. We see them from Namibia, from Brazil, Venezuela,
Mhm.
all over the world. And that is when a diamond encounters a very mild radioactive source where the radiation is not able to penetrate the inside of the stone. And it is also the job of a very fine cutter sometimes to maintain a bit of that. But
Right.
it's you're not able to make the same type of ultra saturated stone like an intense or a vivid or a deep where there's just a bit of color. There are ways of manipulating it if the color is very strong on the outside, but we tend not to do these. And ultimately, a lot of the time, customers really, they want a true color. They don't want
Right.
skin left on the
Mhm.
outside of the stone. They want the diamond to be fully cut for all of the
Right.
rough surface to be removed and to create this beautiful jewel. But there are examples I've seen that can go the other way. But in my opinion, it's all about fully cutting these diamonds.
David, thank you so much for giving us all your valuable time. Thank you to your lovely wife, who's been a great support in helping us curate this wonderful chat. And we look forward to seeing more green diamond from Optimum Diamonds, New York.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it and I really appreciate your time and what you're doing.